The group, the weekend, the promise. We made the promise at Ryan's dad's funeral, standing in the rain outside a church in October. 6 of us, under one shared umbrella, half drunk on grief and bad coffee. Ryan said, "Dad always wanted to do the Cairn Valley Loop. Let's do it for him. Next summer, all 6 of us, no excuses." We did it the following August. 4 of us came back, 2 did not. And I have never fully explained what happened to the trail signs, because every time I try, people look at me the way you look at someone whose grief has curdled into something they should probably talk to someone about. Let me tell you who we were, because the kind of people we were matters to what happened to us. Ryan O'Coffer, 34, the one who made the promise, a high school PE teacher who had spent his whole adult life being the person everyone else leaned on and who had never once asked for anything in return. Beside him, Desta, a pediatric nurse with the particular competence of someone who had handled real emergencies and found that this made ordinary chaos feel manageable. Then Priya and her husband Joel, who had met Ryan in college and whose presence on any group trip was guaranteed to produce both the best memories and the most embarrassing stories. And finally, Grace, Ryan's younger sister, 29, a cartographer who made maps for a living, which we all found darkly funny in retrospect. And me, the one writing this down, Ryan's oldest friend, who has spent 2 years trying to find words for what Cairn Valley did to us. The group, the weekend, the promise. We arrived at the trailhead on a Friday evening in late August, the kind of evening that makes you remember why you live. Golden light through old-growth pine, the smell of resin and cold creek water, the particular hush of a forest at the end of a hot day. The Cairn Valley Wilderness Loop was listed in every guide as a moderate 14-mile circuit, well-marked, popular with families, with a designated backcountry campsite at the 7-mile midpoint. One night out, easy Saturday morning hike back. Ryan stood at the first trail sign for a long moment before we started. It was a good sign. Solid cedar post, freshly painted white arrows, black lettering with distances burned into the wood. Cairn Valley Loop, 14.2 miles. Campsite Alpha, 7.1 mile. Trailhead, .0 miles. He put his hand on the post the way people touch headstones. Not sad exactly, the specific tenderness of a person completing a thing. He'd have loved this, he said. Nobody disagreed. We walked into the trees with our packs on and the light going warm and amber on the pine crowns above us, and for the first 3 miles we were entirely happy, the kind of happy that only exists when grief has metabolized into something you can finally carry without putting it down. None of us photographed the first trail sign. We had no reason to. We expected it to be there when we came back. We reached campsite Alpha just as the last light left the sky. 6 adults around a fire, pine smoke, whiskey shared from a single flask, Ryan telling stories about his dad that made us laugh and cry in the same breath. Priya said it was the best night she'd had in years. In the morning, the trail sign at the campsite entrance was pointing a different direction than the night before. We told ourselves we'd misremembered. The campsite was everything the Forest Service had promised, a flat clearing beside a boulder-edged creek, a steel bear box for food, a ring of stones with old ash that dozens of other campers had left before us. We set up the 2 tents in 20 minutes and then did what people do at backcountry campsites in August. We built a fire and opened the whiskey and looked up at a sky so full of stars it seemed structurally improbable. And we talked. Ryan talked about his father for the first time since the funeral. Not the formal eulogy version, the real version. The man who couldn't cook anything except chili and who made it too spicy every time. The man who called Ryan at 11 p.m. just to read him bird facts he'd found in a library book. The man who had this loop trail on a handwritten bucket list that Ryan had found tucked in a copy of a field guide in his bedside drawer, and which had 14 other things on it, all of them small, all of them about being outside, all of them left undone. We went to sleep at midnight, full of whiskey and wood smoke and something close to peace. I was the last to turn in. I sat by the dying fire for a few extra minutes, listening to the creek and the trees and the perfect silence underneath them, and I felt, with a completeness I can't explain and have never felt before or since, that we were exactly where we were supposed to be. I woke at 6 a.m. to the sound of Priya's voice, low and uncertain, just outside the tent. I heard her say, "Joel, Joel, come look at this." The trail sign at the campsite entrance had, the previous evening, pointed east along the trail toward the trailhead, the direction we needed to walk to complete the loop and return to the parking lot. We had all seen it. We had oriented ourselves by it. It was the last thing Ryan looked at before he zipped his tent. In the morning light, the arrow pointed west, back the way we had come. We told ourselves we'd misremembered. It had been dark. We'd had whiskey. Trail signs don't move. By mile 9, Grace had stopped talking. She had her compass out, she had her topo map unfolded and pressed against her knees every time we stopped. She was a cartographer. She made maps for a living. She understood terrain. She understood orientation. She was the calmest person I had ever met in uncertain situations. At mile 9, Grace looked at the trail sign pointing us south and said very quietly, "That sign is wrong. South takes us into the bowl. There's no trail out of the bowl." The sign was freshly painted. We had not walked south. We broke camp at 7:30 a.m., rational and slightly embarrassed about the whiskey misremembering theory, and set off east on the loop trail. The morning was perfect, cool, clear, the light at that low-angle August angle that makes pine needles glow like copper wire. Desta had a playlist going softly from her jacket pocket. Joel was identifying mushrooms off the trail. Everything was fine. The first sign discrepancy we could not explain away came at mile 8.2. There is a junction there where a spur trail branches north toward a fire lookout. The loop trail continues east. The sign had pointed east consistently on every park map we'd consulted, on the trail register's posted diagram, on Ryan's downloaded offline map. When we reached it, it pointed north. We went east anyway. Compasses work, topo maps work. We were experienced enough to navigate without signs if we had to. Ryan said it was probably a vandal, kids with a screwdriver turning posts for the prank of it. Priya said it was probably a maintenance error. Joel said nothing, but I noticed he stayed closer to Priya than usual from that point on. It was the sign at mile 9.8 that broke the vandalism theory, a sign that had not existed on any MAC, on any trail inventory, in the Park Service's own online database of markers. A freshly painted post, white with black lettering, post hole freshly dug, the earth around its base not yet settled, and its single arrow pointing into the forest interior, off all known trail, with a distance listed as an infinity symbol. I photographed it. I photographed all of them. I have those photographs. I have submitted them to the Park Service and to 3 separate investigative journalists and to a retired park ranger who spent 30 years at this park and who looked at my photographs for a long time before saying, "I put that mile 9.4 post in myself in 2009. The arrow was bolted on with carriage bolts. You'd need a socket wrench to remove it." We had heard nothing. No tools, no footsteps, no human presence at all. Just the forest and the signs and the slow, sick understanding that something was rearranging our map.